insight. And of course, leading actress and actors are here. Of course, today, it's Vaughn. Vaughn has made us proud in his whole demeanor as an actor, showcasing his capacity, his depth, and the intrigue that the audience is moved by understanding who and what he is. But for those who are aspiring, for those who want to be able to understand the journey to being an actor and understanding the value proposition that having him being a leading man will lead other young brothers and sisters to understand their capacity is larger than they know when they see and hear each of his lines. Hello, Vaughn. How are you?
Hello, how you doing, my son? I'm doing well, man.
Oh, good, good, good. Welcome to Star Studio. So you're the
Thank you for
star of
having me
the show,
on.
man. Come on, man. You're welcome here, rolling out. You're the star of the show.
uh, I'll be trying, man. I'll be doing my best, bro. It's that Tyler Perry, man. You know, he just the imagination, the mind that he has, the craft that he has to bring the stories and the drama to us. He knows his audience, and you know, it's just an honor to be in that scenario and putting myself into one of his stories, man. It's a surreal experience.
Okay, so we're gonna give big ups to Tyler, but today it's Star Studio. The one thing we know about Tyler is he can see talent.
Mhm.
The difference in he and Spike in the body of work is he believes in dreamers. He sees something
Mhm.
in your eyes. He observes the
Mhm.
character, your capacity to be a professional. Because at the end of the day, he's a professional. So he only
Yes,
wants
sir.
to surround himself with consummate professionals. What was it like when you auditioned for this position?
Well, before I even got the audition, I remember him calling me up personally on the phone, and he's like, Vaughn Hebron, this is Tyler Perry, man. And you know how he does in his voice. How you doing, young man? Just wanted to call you, get to know you a little bit, have this project coming out called The Oval, and I think you would be great for one of the characters. And, you know, just having that experience of talking to him, you know, not about just personal stuff, but also business wise, and really getting down to the meat of the character, the meat of the show before even the audition was an experience in itself. And then he did say, he's like, well, I do want to see you audition. I want to see what you got. I've seen some of your work already. But you know, I want to see what else you can bring to this. Uh, and it was one of those things where usually in an audition, you just let it go because you have nothing to lose. And I felt like in this position, I was like, dang, maybe I do got something to lose. I need to bring it up. So it was, the pressure was on from the beginning, but it was one of those experiences where it's like you rise to the occasion. You know, it was a chance to really be on a platform where you could really shine.
So when you got your first opportunity between you
Mhm.
and God, and you knew that you wanted to be an actor, where were you?
When I knew I wanted to be an actor was actually when I moved to Atlanta first, because I was in pharmaceutical sales for almost 3 years. And during that time, I was figuring out like if this is really what I wanted to do in my life. And so while I was figuring that out, I started taking acting classes because I always loved watching movies. I always fell in love with stories and characters and just putting myself in these imaginative places and seeing what I could do with it. So I started taking acting classes while I was still in corporate America. And then the company had some layoffs, and I was one of the people that got laid off, and they offered me another job the next day. But then, you know, I was like, I really enjoy acting. I really enjoy the classes I'm taking. I really enjoy what I'm doing outside of work. So instead of going back to corporate America, I just decided to move to Atlanta and really give it a shot, really get my feet wet, put myself in a situation where I can exploit this and see if this is something for me.
So acting classes, what did you learn about yourself when you first started taking classes? And
Yeah. uh, you learn about yourself in acting, man. You know, you start learning more about your insecurities, your fears, because there's scenes or there's scenarios that in a good acting classes put you in, and it gives you a chance to see if it's something that excites you, if it's something that you're nervous about, if it's something that you try to shy away from because you don't want to expose yourself so much. So for me, I really learned a little bit more about my insecurities and fears, things that situations that I could avoid in real life, and interactions I could avoid with people. I had to face those in class. So my insecurities and fears was probably the biggest thing that I learned about myself. But I also did learn that I like the spotlight a little bit. And when I say the spotlight, not having all the attention on me, but I like the moment and the chance to perform and really have those experiences that make you have to rise to the occasion.
That's my long pause. I was just doing a long pause.
I got you. I was like, oh snap.
Part of what I like to showcase in Star Studio is the fact that training is critical to the craft.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
what did you and how did you grow yourself outside of class while you were attending class?
Um, Outside of class, I began to study people more, study people from different walks of life, people watch more. Um, More books that I was reading, not about just like psychology, um, but also just about personal growth, developing yourself as a person, as a character, as a man. So therefore you can become more acquainted with who you are. So you can bring that stuff that that knowledge of yourself to these characters. Also started watching more and more movies, more and more television, and not just like the things that were popular or the things that were hits, but movies of different genres, movies from back in the day, movies that were winning Oscars and Emmys and SAG Awards and BET Awards, just trying to really get a knowledge of the industry as a whole and the history and seeing what these actors were doing on screen that had made it the people that I was aspiring to, and also trying to figure out things that I could use in my work. So it was a combination of working on yourself as a person, working on your craft with reading and classes, and just studying as much as you could.
Right. But when you found that you had fears that you were beginning to address,
Uh-huh.
how did it speak to you? Like when you were talking to yourself, you like, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. Yeah. You get into some good stuff. I guess for me, uh, it kind of spoke to where those fears came from, where those insecurities came from, whether it had to be something with where I come from, because I'm originally from Baltimore. So was it like a cultural thing that I grew up with, just having fear of being too aggressive or coming off a certain way? Was it a fear or insecurity that came from a relationship that I might have had with my parents, a relationship that I might have had with a girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend? Um, or was it something that was just uncovered yet, undiscovered yet? Because there's certain situations in acting that you have no idea how to relate to this, and it's like you only can draw from what you've been through, or go out and try to experience it if you're a method actor. So sometimes you really just have to substitute things that you've been through and see if that can apply there. So I know for me personally, it definitely made me pay attention to my relationships with my parents, my relationships with my friends, like I said, ex-girlfriends. And also just like, because sometimes there was a lot of the scenes that I had in the beginning that had to show a lot of aggression. And I believe for me, like coming in corporate America, I had to learn how to stifle myself a little bit, especially as a Black man. Don't be so aggressive. Watch how you say things. Watch how you present. And in these scenes, it was like, forget all that. We need to see all that. So there were certain things that was ingrained in me at my core, or how I was already conditioned to be, that I had to unlearn. And and modify to make it work.
I have a couple of friends who are actors, and
Mm-hmm.
one of their mothers is ill, and
Mm-hmm.
so we were talking, and he was just kind of talking, not necessarily aggressively, kind of nonchalantly. And I said, "Bro, how much are you in pain?"
Yeah. Oh wow.
And he wasn't talking about pain. It's kind of like matter of factly talking about it, not being rude.
Right.
But I'm like, bro, it really hurt me when I talked about my dad and him passing. And he was like, the whole tone changed. The character I was talking to over the phone changed. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, bro, you ain't got to act with me on the phone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this ain't comfortable. And I think the growth that we want to see, and I'm sure Tyler wants to see, are the people that you have inside of you that mean the most. How can you be like a stepdad and be that person and take principles that he instilled in you and give them to somebody else in the scene?
Yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. It's a very intimate experience sometimes, and especially coming from certain cities and certain environments where you kind of learn not to show that vulnerability, and you learn not to be transparent with people, especially with your feelings and what you learn and the pain that you have. And especially with Tyler, that's exactly what he wants to see. He wants you to bring that to these characters. And I'm sure any acting job and director, that's exactly what you need to bring to the character. The stuff that you do not want to show and you're afraid to show, that's exactly what you need to bring. Acting is being private in a public space.
Yeah. No, the reality is most people have never been to BMO. So they have
Mm-hmm.
no I
Yeah.
have no idea. I probably go twice a year, and
Uh-huh.
I write children's books. So and,
Okay.
and I go to the Salvation Army and actually sign books and um, read to the kids
Mm-hmm.
each year for books and boots. We actually give them away with
Mm-hmm.
a client, and it hurts your heart to see that much pain, and it hurts your heart um, to know how you have to walk through that city. And
Yeah.
um, the
It
president,
it does something to you, man.
yeah,
It does. It does. And a lot of, I would say the majority of the experience and what you're learning when you become an actor, when you're first starting your journey, is to you know, unlearn what you've been taught, unlearn what you've been conditioned to be like. So therefore you can start bringing out these new things and these new experiences and these new characters and these new personalities and feelings that you have inside yourself that you just weren't allowed to express before.
yeah,
So,
and
but it's a constant journey of learning yourself though, because even as you evolve, you know, from a younger adult to an adult to an older adult, you learn more things about yourself as well. So as you're constantly learning yourself.
so when you read the lines and you think about the oval and the
Uh-huh.
character you are there, what do you feel like you're growing into while you're on camera that the others can see that only you can feel?
What am I growing into? Well, with Barry, I'm growing into. For me, it's a younger version of myself. It's a younger version of myself because this character Barry, the way that he handles trauma and the way that he handles his own issues in the show reminds me of how I used to be, how my friend, like my homeboys, would handle that situation, and it's a lot of the painful experiences that he has. He handles it, his lines, the way he handles it is like he shuns it off. You know, and that's just how we used to be. That's how we used to be, like growing up in Baltimore and, you know, DC and Maryland. We used to just like, it don't affect me. I'm gonna handle it with aggression opposed to actually trying to marinate on it and let it sink in and come up with a better way to overcome it. He handles it with aggression. And it really reminds me of a younger me sometimes. Oh, my light came off. It really reminds me of a younger me sometimes. Get this light back on for you.
No, I think
Sorry about that.
you cool, bro. I mean, you know, if you don't imagine that anything's gonna happen on a set, you lost your mind. You know, it's just,
Oh yeah,
you know, the light went out. You know, a director
yeah,
might up, the light went out. So, you know,
yeah. Especially with Tyler too, man. I'll tell you, he'll throw a wrench in there real quick. He will
I
throw a
think
wrench in
when
there
you
real quick.
think about the Oval and what you have in the character, being a leading man, how has it set you up? Because, you know, when you think about your brethren who are leading guys, I mean, literally, the community will see you differently when you finish the body of work.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to that um, because although I have a lot of similarities with Barry and the character, I'm not him. And so when people automatically associate Vaughn to Barry, I my first thing is I'm not him. You know, don't I understand your frustrations, I understand your judgments on him, but you don't have to put them on me. And so that's something I'm still dealing with. That's something I'm still getting used to because as this being my first uh, lead role and the capacity and the platform that it's on, I'm still growing and getting accustomed to that. I guess it's one of those things where you have to accept it and take it for what it is and understand that people are just very much in love with this show and very much emotionally connected to the characters. And so they don't make the distinguishing between both the character and the actor. It's something I'm still getting used to.
But we hope they don't. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the idea. We want them to be sold. We want them to believe.
right,
We want them to
right.
exist. I mean, literally, same actor that I'm talking about. He
Mm-hmm.
after we get off the phone and talk, I said, well, remember what you always told me. He said, well, what is that? He says you want them to always invest in how you appear on.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, people have to invest their feelings into you, otherwise there's
Right,
no buy-in. If they don't invest in
right.
character, they're not buying. They're not.
Yeah.
They see you, they're like, maybe, or he's overacting. See, because you don't want that ticket.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Right,
bad ticket. You're like, unbelievable, bad casting.
right.
So I think that's a good thing. But when you get your image award and you're happy to receive it, and they ask you how you feel about the uprising and that Black Lives Matter, what would you give them as a 30-minute speech or 30-second speech? This is for your image award.
Mm-hmm. uh, First and foremost, we still need to arrest the officers that killed Breonna Taylor. First and foremost. Second, man, you know, your platform is a chance for you to it's a chance for you to speak to people because now that people are invested in you, you have a chance to change things. You need to use that platform to change things and to really make a statement of what you think is right and what's wrong. And people will follow you. You are now a leader. You are now a face, a voice of the community. So you need to make sure that you use that voice for the right things.
Cool.
Um,
And then if you had to think,
passionate about that.
what's going to happen? So, you know,
Yeah.
uh, uh, But two people that you would thank while you're on stage, and they gave you the image award, and they said, well, be sure to thank two people before you get off stage. Who would you thank?
First and foremost, my stepfather. I would thank him. And I would thank Tyler. I would thank Tyler for, as you said earlier, seeing something in me that made him give me a shot, made him give me a chance.
Well, that's pretty obvious. I mean, I think Tyler reminds me of a diamond cutter.
Yeah.
He can see the brilliance. It's a rough stone. Obviously, it's a diamond, but
right.
This is a big 48 karat. This is a simple. This is a black diamond. So I'm going to treat it. So and I think he sees it in part because he wants the expression to be honest and true, and he knows that every time he puts out a body of work and a young Black man or woman is able to grow, then he's created more kings and queens and kingdoms that can actually go forth and believe and understand and uplift other people based on their experience. So to me, he's always like the diamond cutter. I think that period, that literally he knows how to extract things. He knows how to take it from a raw material and perfect it and then put it on the right neck at the end of the day. Place it so
that's a good analogy, man.
So that it's a special thing to be a, kind of like a jewelry maker. You put things, create something that's brilliant, valuable, but when people put it on, they wear it and know that it was special. But he's developed it from a raw something into
a raw material.
Yeah, very beautiful.
Yeah,
and everybody can't be a diamond cutter. Everybody can't really do that. So I think that for him, we're just lucky and blessed to have him in the, studio, the imagination, the gumption, the boldness to say Black men can, Black people can, and we will not try, because try is a word that he nor I accept. We will not try to. It will be great.
That's very true. There's no trying. I need you to do.
Right. It's got to be done. But at the end of the day, for a young Black man to believe and understand in surrogacy as fatherhood, what does it mean for you as you grow up and become a dad, if you do, or a surrogate dad? What responsibility do you believe you have to be the character? What are those characteristics that you think now that you would bring to a fatherhood role?
It's interesting because when I was preparing for this role, I spent time with my younger brother who just had a daughter. He just had a second daughter too. And, just how his life changed when she came into the world, his mindset. And I remember him saying that, I just felt like I had to protect her at all costs. I had to protect her at all costs. And before that, he was just thinking about himself. He'll be okay. He'll be all right. He'll figure it out. But now it was like, no, this needs her protection. Her well-being is everything. And I think that's something I'm working to incorporate even more and more into my character as Barry, is just having this level of having somebody else mean so much to you, because as a young man, even when you get a girlfriend or something, you are still like your center of your universe, but when you have a daughter or when you have a child, your whole focus and priority shifts. And that's something that takes practice and something that takes getting used to. So having a prioritization shift and a center of focus shift is something that I would definitely want to bring into future father roles. Also, thinking about my father, you know, how he was to me, he he did everything that he could for us. I mean, if he had to, from disciplining to responsibility as far as working, um, making sure that we were growing into the men, like his teaching and everything, it was something that you kind of feared, but also something that you appreciated as you grew up. But that kind of it's a fine balance between disciplining and also loving somebody. So for me, what I would want to do, obviously depending on the role, is just having that, establishing that fear to my child. I am also the disciplinarian, but it's out of love and showing more and more of that love and that sense of urgency that you have to your child.
Almost. It's close. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
The particularly as men, the
Yeah.
ability to express love, be vulnerable to our children, to
Mm-hmm.
admit our mistakes, to
Yeah.
identify with our shortcomings, so that our children can love us in our imperfection, and to not hide behind, just because we're in charge, the fact that we're going to fall, we're going to act inappropriate. I think that those are characters that we're all, particularly Black men, learning to adjust, so we can remove some curses that other dads just couldn't say. You know, I love you one more time and come give me one more hug, because
Right.
I'm 17 now, but I just want you to know, you know, dude, like, know that I want you to make it home, and
Right.
we together, and whatever is whatever, but you can call me. You know, I'm not looking for a perfect, but you know, if we can work, at least play it, you know, play. If you get in trouble, call me. Don't talk.
Yeah.
Speak to the police. Just call me, and then we'll figure it out. But let's not talk. Don't talk to
Yeah.
me, you know, and make it home.
It's so funny because that's tough. That's tough. I'm thinking about myself. I'm thinking about my best friends, man. Like our father is just, it's hard for them to do that. We don't show that enough.
Well, you know, I have theories. Not that you didn't know that, but my
Right.
theory is you know, the fact is that you and I will be different fathers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's work hard not to be our fathers, and
Yeah.
understand that our fathers, after 21, they did the best that they could for who they were. They may not have had therapy available.
Right.
You know, they still got a knee on George Floyd's neck.
Right.
Like, you
Right.
know, so it hasn't been free falling. Obviously, Black men can see opportunities that they never have. You know, obviously, J.J. Abrams forgot to call you when he was booking the last Star Trek. I mean, it's just real.
Right.
You know what I mean? And obviously, there are roles that Denzel should probably have at least 3 statues.
Yeah.
It hadn't happened. And that type of denial, you know, I was interviewing Maya Angelou.
Mm-hmm.
So hanging out. I really didn't even want to go. And Maya, in common, we're sitting, and I have a home in Chicago, and I'm in Atlanta today in my home. But they said, well, you got 2 minutes. And I said, well, man, 2 minutes. You know, everybody, time went from a half an hour to 2 minute
2
interview.
minutes.
And I'm like, you know, I've never really wanted to do this interview. It's Maya. I've seen her. She is probably 2 years from grace at that point. On oxygen when I walk in the room, and they say, you're rolling. I said, well, I got one compliment common, and the two men that you obviously hang out with, that's he and Barack Obama. So congratulations, common, much respect. She was there for his foundation. So I got that out. And I said, well, since I can only ask you two things, I know which two they are. And I said, if you could talk to all Black men all the black men in the world, what would you tell them?
Mhm.
And she put the oxygen on her face, put it down, and we rolled the camera. And she said, I would tell them to forgive themselves. For this system has taken away their women and they can't do anything about it. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that hits.
So then she said, well, you could say, they say, you get one more question. I said, I don't have any more questions. I just need you to do me one favor. And she said, handsome, what is it? I said, I just need you to say my name. And she took some oxygen. She said, say your name again. And I said, it's Munson Steed. She took some oxygen. She said, this is my Angelo, and I'm with Munson Steed. My whole life was made right then. I think we all want to forgive our dads, and I can say we've got to forgive our dads for just whatever shortcomings they have. You got to forgive them so that you can forgive yourself, because the feelings that we hold on to as black men as we move through life, we've got to let go of the little boy. We've got to let go of the teenager. We got to let go of what they didn't give us, and we got to find somebody else, including ourselves, to pour that into. Because that space is not really empty. It's actually as full as it's going to be for that moment in time. And there are bigger spaces to fill that will make you and everybody else just as proud. So for me, that's the character you grow into when you find that you can love them in spite of every broken piece. Because I remember being at Morehouse and my dad would not answer the phone and they were about to put me out of class. But on his deathbed and when he had dementia for 10 years, I didn't mention any of that. Mm-hmm. I held his hand. I walked him in the store like I wanted him to walk me in the store when I was a little boy. I was there, changed his diapers, the whole works. Because it was just about love at that point. I didn't want any more feelings. I didn't want no guilt, no shame. I didn't want to bring that into my character. Because I remembered every last minute, this is all I got. And for 10 years, at some point, all he could say was, I love you, because dementia just robs you and robs you. But I was recording for those 10 years. And now I just play it back because he's not here. And I can hear him, not in his sharpestness. He's not that sharp guy. He ain't quick with it. He's not the guy that evaded the phone, but he is the guy that told me that he loved me. So, as we grow in our character, as we become closer as men, we just got to love them in their perfect self, not the perfect person we want them to be. And then we'll love them, and that's it. It's just love. You know what I mean? It's easier to accept. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to accept. We can be vulnerable to the point where we just break out of that. It's like, that's who you are, and I love you. That's it. I don't have to loan you no money. I don't even have to remember yesterday. I get to close that chapter and forgive whatever it was and move on. And then we grow bigger. And we get to love somebody in ways that we didn't love. But anyhow. Fine. It's great to meet you, man. Look forward to we hang out. You make me really proud.
Mustin, thank you, man.
I want you to know we're proud to have you here on Star Studio. Let everybody know where they can follow you.
Yes, sir. Vaughn Hebron, obviously, the Oval Wednesdays on BT. The 2-hour season finale is coming up next Wednesday. You can follow me also on Instagram at VHEBofficial, VHEB_official. Same thing for Twitter.
Cool, man. Much love, my brother.
All right, man. Take care of yourself.
Let us know whatever we can do. We're here, man. Rolling out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Rolling out. Peace.
Peace.